Do you believe this morning that Jesus knows all about every challenge, every aspect of your life? Because that's the only way that we can stand strong. It's the only way that we can lead when the world tells us that there is another way. It's the only way that we can stand out as uncommon in a common world of sin and trial and heartache and falling short. The only way that we can lead is to believe that Jesus knows all about us. Is to believe and understand that Jesus is the one who is leading us and not us ourselves. In the story of John chapter 4, Jesus has left from the Passover feast. He's passing through to a town called Sychar in Samaria. It's a town where Jacob's well has been dug. It's a well of history. It's a town of significance. They had for years, the Samaritans and the Jews had lifted up this place. The Samaritans were a mixed race of Jews. They were half Jewish. As Samaritans, they were often outcast. And so here's this Samaritan woman in a town of Samaria sitting down by a well. Jesus comes up to her in verse number 7 and asks her for a drink of water. The disciples had gone to get food. And the woman said, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria?" The Jews and the Samaritans didn't get along. They had gone their separate ways. They had ancestry. They had history together. They were tied together. They were related, but they didn't talk to each other. They were separated. For it says in verse 9, "For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." Jesus says, "Give me a drink." Her question is, how can you, being Jewish, ask me for something to drink? We don't deal with each other. Then Jesus says in verse number 10, he answered her by saying, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying this to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." Jesus answered her. Last week we shared with you, I said, write this verse down, memorize it, highlight it. Here's another one. Verse number 10, write this down, highlight it, memorize it, keep it close to your heart. Her question is, our history tells us that you and I are not supposed to get along. This is the way the world is set up. You stay on this side and we stay on this side. We worship here, you worship there. This is the setup. This is the way of the world. There's an expectation that the world has of how things ought to go. Jesus says, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, you would say, "Give me this water," and I would have given you living water.